Lorretta Douglas. Sean McFadden is our technical director. Annie Elmore is cooking your breakfast, so let's have a little moment of silence for her. Courtney is here. And of course, Becky, our producer, is here today. So Chef Terry's going to join us in the second hour from the great beyond. Does everyone know Chef Terry has passed? Okay. I don't want to surprise anyone in the middle of the show. We miss him terribly.
I don't have the same panache.
You don't have the same hat for sure. But you have more under the hat than he did.
Yes, I would hope.
Don't rat out
Although-
a secret.
Right now, it's all coming
That
out.
was the saddest thing. He couldn't wear his hat in the hospital.
All right, we're on.
Hello, YouTubers. We are on our live YouTube channel. Welcome to our show. You can watch it anytime. You don't have to watch it live. You can go back and pick it up later if you need to.
You need to see our smiling faces again.
Exactly. Sean, have you put on a picture of Loretta's progenies? This is Loretta is just coming back to work from those two folks.
They're bigger
with
now.
death, there is life.
We need an updated picture. They're so much bigger now.
Hello. Maybe you should send me one once in a while.
Send you one like every day.
True.
Maybe you should come watch them and take one
They're
yourself.
You think Hercules would get in my car by himself and go hit balls with me?
Yeah.
Would he? Good.
Yeah.
He seems to be a little tight to the
Tight
the
to the
legs.
mom today, yeah. Or in general right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch that video of Ellie asleep that I sent? Oh my God.
Hercules is discovering, this is the 2.5-year-old, that having siblings distracts from the attention that he might receive otherwise. He's not very happy about it.
Yeah. I can't wait for him to turn 3 in a month and a half so I don't have 3 under 3 anymore.
Yeah. And when he turns 3, the terrible twos just disappear.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just
That's
as
what
funny.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh? That's right. Exactly.
Ugh.
3 under 3. That's what it was like having her as a baby. She was like 3. What a struggle.
Oh my God. It was an angel.
Okay, team, we're going to get rolling here. Welcome to the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Tom Douglas.
I'm Lorretta Douglas.
And we are coming to you from our studios here at the Hot Stove Society in downtown Seattle, inside the beautiful Hotel Andra, 4th and Virginia. Come down and see us sometimes. We tape on Thursday mornings generally from 9 to 11. And you can join us for breakfast by purchasing a ticket at the hotstovesociety.com website. Annie is back there making Spanish tortilla, which is like a potato, browned onion, and egg omelet, but it was mostly potato.
Yum.
And then she's making some chorizo sausages, and my favorite, which is the ruby chard, where she cooks the stems separately, adds them back in when she's sauteing the greens part, and
That's the
a little bit of
key.
our taco spice on there, which is citrusy, mild chili.
Delicious.
And they are fabulous. I love those. We've already started with a beautiful warm blueberry muffin. And
I
what else?
housed mine. About
did
3
you?
bites. Yeah.
Mine was so hot when I took
My
it.
favorite Thursday morning treat is that I come in here to a warm blueberry muffin every week.
Well, we can thank Annie Elmore, our director, for that. And Courtney back there was kicking butt on scrambled eggs this morning. Upcoming classes here at the Hot Stove Society. We have pho broth soup dumplings coming up. Cook the book with Mr. Jews in Chinatown. That's JIU''S. Classy crepes. Pan-seared dumplings. Weeknight chicken pot pie. And our brunch club, biscuits and gravy. I know Franz has a Philippine brunch class coming up too. Is that sold out, Annie? Oh, that one's sold out already.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Too
You
bad.
can go to hotstovesociety.com and check on all of our classes. You know, we do both these kind of public classes, and we do lots of events for businesses who come and sometimes have a dumpling challenge or old
Nothing
school
to bring
Italian
you closer
night.
to your coworkers than head-to-head food challenge.
Yeah, these people, you know, they work in the office all day together, and then all of a sudden they become gladiators at night over
Yeah.
dumplings. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
there's some pent-up aggression in some of these groups.
It's super fun. I think I'm teaching tonight, as a matter of fact. I'm not sure, but I think I remember that on my calendar. Okay, today's show. Becky has put together a beautiful show for us. Becky Guzak, our producer, is sitting here. What do we have today, Becky?
Well, we're going to do Loretta's shortcut or scratch. I'm excited about that. It's been a couple weeks.
I haven't heard what it's going to be yet.
Well, I'm not sure if she wants to let you know or not.
Pesto. We're talking pesto, today.
So the question is, do you go ahead and buy the pre-made pesto at the store, or do you buy the basil, buy the pine nuts, buy the Reggiano Parmesan, and buy a delicious olive oil and some garlic to put it all together? Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Yeah. Let's see where you land. I have no idea where you're leaning.
Yeah. What else we have?
We've got Chef John Howy and Eric Liedholm are here to talk about the restaurants and Wildwood Spirits.
So John has Sea Star over in Bellevue, John Howie's Steak. He's got a bunch of restaurants. And I know right by our warehouse in Ballard, he opened, and Eric opened a distillery. So I'm excited to talk to them about all they're doing.
We've been watching that project come
Beardsley.
together, and now it's beautiful
I know, exactly.
and open. I'm so excited.
I love how they put big windows right in front of
Yeah.
the copper stills.
Ooh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
We've got our Simple to Spectacular segment where we honor Thierry by looking through his fabulous recipes and seeing how complicated and spectacular they are.
You know, it's such a funny thing because I hadn't gone through the Rover's cookbook in a long time. And when Terry passed, it was like, what do I have of his that I really cherish as a memento to think about every day? And the book is one of those things because the recipes are so complicated, I don't ever use them. And so now going through the book, it's been really fun to kind of explore. And because I can hear his mind think when I read his recipes because we're very different cooks.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. The recipe we're going to do today is super simple compared to most of his recipes.
Comparatively.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is.
And it might inspire folks to.
Yeah, it's a pork belly dish. With some beans.
And we've got pastry chef Britney Bartleben is here from Hot Cakes Molten Chocolate Cakery.
Do you remember her when she worked for
I
us?
do.
Brit's Baking Corner, right? She
Oh
used
my
to have
God,
a
she's a
regular
pistol.
segment.
Let's get her back.
Yeah, she's a pistol. So, and winter desserts too. And we're going to wrap up today with food for thought, tasty trivia.
Of course.
Of course we are. What's your taste of the week?
I'm full on sumo orange obsessed right now.
Oh, really?
I can't stop. Every time I go to the store, I buy like 5. I think I eat 1 or 2 a day. I put them in the fridge so they're so crispy cold, and it's like my favorite food in the world. The good thing about it is it has stopped me from eating dessert because now I just have a really cold icy sumo instead.
Right.
But this is like my favorite time of the year for this fruit in particular.
I walked into Met Market yesterday. They must have had 500 pounds by the front door.
So good. If you haven't picked one
I
up
bought one
because
just because you said.
you think they look wrinkly and weird, please try one and report back because I think that they're incredible.
And they're called sumo.
Sumos. And they're like a giant mandarin, basically. So they're really easy peel and eat, and they're perfect.
Cool.
Now's the time.
Will you come peel the one I bought for me? My taste of the week is your mom made. We forget how good ham hocks are. I see them at the grocery store. I bet most people don't ever pick one up.
I've never cooked one.
And so she cooked a bunch of beans that she had saved from the farm, Prosser Farm, dried beans, and she cooked a bunch with a ham hock last night. God, the whole kitchen smelled so good.
Yeah.
You know, it's a smoked ham hock, so
Yeah.
you get some of that and all these cat's eye dried beans. Probably right up your alley, I would guess.
I love that. I love dried beans.
Yeah, and there's no egg in there.
That's right.
What else are you allergic to?
Just eggs.
Just eggs.
Just
There you
eggs.
go. It's going to be a fun show, so stick with us. We're 2 hours of your favorite bites of the week right here at the Hot Stove Society. You're listening to us on Cairo Radio 97.3. Up next, Shortcut to Scratch.
I'm in a party motivate today, so when you see me clap, please join us, or else it's just weird.
Wow, Lorretta, you're giving yourself a pat on the back
Yeah.
there. That was always Thierry's job. He loved to party motivate.
Yes.
Sing, whistle, dance.
We'll do a little of that later.
All right, here we are back in the kitchen on Cairo Radio. Yahoo! We are jumping into Shortcut to Scratch. My daughter Lorretta is here, and
I love a shortcut.
you love a shortcut. Well, you
Yeah.
have 3 under 3 right now, which is you loved a shortcut before you ever had babies. I'll
Totally.
just say that
Totally.
right now. But it's even more important now. And,
Yeah.
and the fact that you loved
I
it
actually have a reason to use a shortcut
the fact
now.
that you loved it before, you were prepared for some of the things you really love while you have these youngsters at the age they are. I was trying to think, my mother is a very simple cook. She had 8 kids. And I was thinking, what were the shortcuts in her day? And the shortcuts in her day were more things like you buy frozen fresh vegetables, right?
Yeah.
Or, but she would cook them, but she would buy frozen spinach or
Yeah, like a bag of frozen broccoli kind
or
of thing.
things. So that was kind of
I've actually
shortcut.
been thinking about that recently because I have never done, outside of peas, I don't think I've ever bought like a frozen bagged vegetable, and I'd be curious. The thing that I want frozen, and I've actually heard they make this, is frozen diced onion.
Well, you can buy frozen pearl onions too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Anyway.
pesto today. It's one of the ways I keep my toddler interested in eating green things is that he does like pasta, and putting pesto on it is a way to keep putting green things in front of him so that we don't just venture entirely into white foods only. And I regularly buy the Costco, like the Kirkland jarred pesto. But I will buy a lot of them. Whole Foods has one that I buy. Trader Joe's has like a kale pesto that I buy.
Okay, that's not
sometimes.
right. Kale pesto.
Delicious.
Oh my God.
But it had me thinking, like, you probably are not a pesto purchaser.
I'm not. We put it up every year into ice cube trays, and then we keep a cube of pesto that we can pull out of the freezer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is a shortcut in a way. You take the long way once to take the short way other times, right?
Sort of. Except you're leaving out the fact that your mom grew the basil and the garlic.
And the garlic. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things that I like about pesto, you're kind of like poo-pooing my kale pesto, but
Well, let's just stop there for 1 second, which is what's the beautiful thing about basil pesto? The aroma of basil, right?
Yeah.
Kale? Tell me about the aroma of kale.
Yeah, it's,
It's
delicious.
a texture thing. Maybe with walnuts instead of pine nuts, or how is
Yeah.
that kale?
But I just think if I'm using it kind of as a vehicle, I like that pesto can be made with all different types. I've made spinach pesto before, so it's not like I never take the long way, but I don't feel like my homemade pesto is unless it's peak summer and I am picking my own basil out of my garden, and which is when I make from scratch. But I just don't know that I feel like my homemade or my store-bought Costco pesto is markedly.
I think you're probably right, which is probably the first time in your 33 years that I've said that. But, well, first, I think it's horrendous that you're tricking your son into eating vegetables without being honest with him.
I tell him what's in there.
Okay.
We don't hide things. We just prepare them in ways that he likes.
So basil pesto, let's go through it. I learned how to make basil pesto from Pasqualina Verde. She was a low staller at the Pike Place Market from Garlic Gulch down in the Kent Valley. Her family farm, my guess, is probably covered by a warehouse at this point. But she was just this old Italian lady, and she didn't speak a whole lot of English, but she taught me to cut my basil, 2/3 basil, 1/3 Italian flat leaf parsley.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So you get that little bitter with the sweet. And then she also toasted her pine nuts. That
Okay.
You don't just put in raw pine nuts. You toast your pine nuts. Or she said she couldn't afford pine nuts, so she used walnuts, fresh garlic. And for me,
Fresh,
lots,
uncooked. You don't roast your garlic.
We don't
or anything
roast-
Like
no.
that. Just
That's
you
gross.
Go for the bitter.
Yeah, fresh garlic.
Okay.
Uh,
It's gross.
Lots of lemon because you want it to be
Yeah.
bright. And you got to remember when you use a tablespoon of pesto, it's going over at least a cup of pasta.
Yeah.
And so it has to be super bright to begin
And
with.
densely seasoned. I mean, you can't.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I stir in the cheese.
Okay.
Now, the problem with putting the cheese in the pesto is that if you look at your pan when you're done, let's say you've boiled your pasta, you've drained it, you put the pasta back in, and now you're going to put a couple tablespoons of pesto in there with it.
Yep.
The cheese will melt in the hot pasta, but half of it will stick to the side of the pan.
Yeah.
It doesn't come out. And it makes me crazy. You just spent $20 a pound for a Reggiano Parmesan, and it's sitting there in the pan instead of your bowl.
Mhm.
So I like to stir the pesto in at the very last minute out of the pan.
Oh, so you would put it in the serving bowl and then dollop your pesto on and stir it.
No,
in.
and mix it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you have to, just change serving dishes, but something that it isn't going to stick to the hot pan.
Okay.
And then lots of lemon juice. And lemon is what degrades over time, in my opinion,
Okay.
from a fragrance point of view. And so when you're buying the Costco pesto,
Mhm.
just perfectly delicious. I've had it many times. I just add fresh lemon and Reggiano Parmesan to that mix and adjust my seasonings from there.
Yeah, I always re-season. Like I'm a salt person, so I never find that it's probably salty enough for my palate. So I always salt, pepper, more parm, and a good squeeze of lemon.
And the key is, if you're cooking your pasta in salted water, remember your pasta is dried pasta and it rehydrates
It's absorbing. Yeah.
with that salty water. So
I'm
it's
not
gonna
a
have
brackish water boiling person. I
Me
know
neither.
that there's like a big debate about your pasta water should taste like the sea, and I don't believe in it.
Well, your counterpart Bridget, who is every other week
Yeah.
now on this show, she believes in that.
Yeah.
And it makes me twisted because you can't control the salt at
Yeah.
that point. So
Okay. I mean, so when I make it in the summer, and it sounds like kind of when you make it using fresh basil, I then always make a big batch to kind of use it as a shortcut later on. I freeze mine in muffin tins because that's usually about like the amount that I want to have. But honestly, when I buy it from Costco, we don't go through that much pesto. We're not having pesto pasta like 3 times a week. I do the same thing with that, and I will just immediately portion out, maybe 3 muffin tin kind of size worths and put them right in the freezer, because otherwise I never get to it before,
right.
it goes bad.
Well, and one of the great things about pesto is let's say you're making a pot of minestrone soup and you got this big pot of delicious chicken broth, blah, blah, blah. You drop that pesto in when the soup is done cooking, right before you serve it, right out of the freezer, and it just melts in and gives you that fresh kind of summer basil fragrance.
I find when I have it and when I have a jar of it in the fridge, I end up using it in everything. So even when I'm doing a jarred tomato sauce, I'll stir in like a big dollop of the pesto.
Try it in a corn muffin.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be really good with some pecorino, pesto, and the regular Jiffy mix.
Yeah.
There's a shortcut to that.
Love a Jiffy mix.
So you said something about lemon, which I think is essential because I do the same thing in the summer. And my sister has a ton of basil, so someone else is growing it, which is lovely. And I make big batches, definitely toast the pine nuts. And she made batches one year without adding lemon, and it oxidized and it got really black when you bring it out.
Yeah.
And both of us freeze them in small mason jars with
okay.
tops. And I put it on everything.
Yeah.
Chicken, meat, salads.
Before you freeze it, after it settles, pour olive
little,
oil over the top so there you have a fat cap on it. So when it freezes,
Doesn't get
it
that
doesn't get
freezer burn.
frosty.
Yeah.
And don't do what I've done in the past is overfill it, put the top on, and the pesto, the glass breaks.
Sticks to it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And don't throw away all the stems. Feel your stems. Take a bite out of the stem and bite down to the point where it's too woody, because the stems are just as flavorful as the leaves. So we always throw them away. Yeah. All right. Up next, Chef John Howy is here. He's the owner, founder of John Howy Restaurant Group. And we're going to talk to him about all the things going on in his world. On Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM. Because you don't like pine nuts, ah. Sorry, Eric, I forgot to add your name into that mix.
There's more opportunity. I think more comfortable for them.
Where do you want us?
We'll put one of you here.
Okay.
Different chairs.
They're those ones, I think.
Oh, the dock. Out there or at the dock?
No, it was in Belleville.
Oh, yeah, at the
We're
dock,
out there
yeah.
The whole
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. How's your life? How's your golf game?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask. It's not great.
Ah.
So just some back issues, that kind of thing. So I'm still hanging in the 18 handicap area.
Yeah, that's where I am, 16-9. I just got back from the Big Island 2 nights ago.
Oh, nice.
Annual
Was
tournament.
Paul over there?
I don't know. This was a different group that I went with. So
No, I went to
That one's a little. It's a little short to stand.
lift it up or sit.
or trade mics if
Yeah.
you want. If you're both going to stand,
I'm sitting. It's fine with me.
why don't you sit and he can.
Okay.
That mic doesn't go as high as that. I don't think.
Go hard.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you.
I was just going to mention, you want to be about an inch away from that mic.
So Eric, look at me.
Right there.
So whoever's talking to you, Eric, talk to the mic.
Hi, Mike.
So hi, Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Stay right up tight on that thing.
You want us to get this close, basically.
Yeah.
Looking at the person that is-
Sean, can you raise John's mic for him, please?
Just a little. Best we can do this thing.
Oh, okay.
I can get there.
Do we have the lower chair? Maybe he could sit in. He's in the high chair.
I thought that was the low one.
It's that long torso.
Oh, here, grab this one.
Short
This is
legs,
the low
long
one.
torso.
This is the shorty. You got it?
Perfect. Thank you.
Did you want to pour these at a time?
Sure. Yeah.
Those are going to be the next segment.
Oh,
You can
Okay.
pour them, but yeah, not really going to talk
they'll
about
start
them.
filling up the smell of the whole room, though. Kind of like a nice glass of cab in a room. You like.
All right,
sit in
Sean,
there.
you have to fix his mic for him.
I'm good now.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
How's everyone doing out there? Are you starving for breakfast?
I am.
You look a little wan. You look a little wan. Annie, do you have breakfast for our two guests also?
Oh.
That's good.
Well,
Normally,
that makes me happy.
normally she cuts you out of the mix.
Well, I was gonna just go to Lola afterwards, but
Yeah, now you don't have to. Save your money. Eric, I'm going to focus on you mostly in the second segment.
sure.
Wherever you want to jump in the first, you just jump in.
Great.
Welcome back to the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. We're having a ball here today. Lorretta is sitting in Chef Thierry's seat. It's going to be his seat for the next year, just so you know.
Okay.
We're doing a tribute.
I'm not offended.
We're-
It's I'm just keeping it warm.
Exactly. We're going to do a tribute to Thierry every week for the following year with recipes out of his book. So just so you know, you have to share that seat for a
It's
year.
a big seat to fill.
I know, exactly. John Howy is here. He's the owner and founder of John Howy Restaurant Group. And Eric Leadholm is also, Leadholm, sorry,
No,
is
that's great.
also here with John. He's a John Howy Restaurant Group partner and wine director, sommelier, and the only accredited coffee sommelier in the Northwest. Turns out he's also the head distiller and co-owner of Wildwood Spirits. John, let's start with you.
Okay.
How the hell are you?
I'm doing all right, Tom. How the hell are you?
I'm just fine. You know, it's
Good.
you're the person I'm sorry about this, but people get most confused with between you and me.
You and I both
Because-
experienced the same thing.
Oh, really? I said he doesn't have hair. What are you talking about? But no, we're both big men, and so I'm happy to take responsibility for your restaurants when people say, I love Sea Star.
Yeah, well, thank you, because I get the same thing where, I love your restaurants. Oh, which one do you go to that much? Dahlia Lounge? Or Hell's Kitchen? I'm like,
Exactly.
you're thinking of Tom.
You need to have some agreement where you guys just agree to always graciously say, "Oh, thanks so much."
Thanks so
Like-
much.
Well, you know what? The good news about that is that people love our restaurant.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
perfect.
No matter how you look at it. So you have Sea Star and a restaurant and raw bar. You have John Howy Steak, Bellevue Boffles,
yeah.
Beardsley Public House, and now right across from my warehouse in Ballard, you have Wildwood Spirits Company.
Yeah, well, actually, we've had Wildwood Spirits Company since back in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Eric and I started the distillery, and it's beneath Beardsley Public House, but it's super small. So now we're going big time.
Yes, you are.
Big time. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. We were just talking about the beautiful copper stills that you can see through the windows. Hopefully they stay that way.
Yeah, well, you remember what that was, what that place looked like before that.
I
It was
do.
just a big warehouse.
Wasn't it Rubens or before you?
Oh,
or-
no, Rubens is next to us.
Oh, okay.
And so this was just a big warehouse for Valpel or something like
Yeah.
that. And so we took out all of the concrete blocks and put those windows in.
Yeah, it's
So you could see those beautiful stills.
awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the restaurant world.
Okay.
You and Eric have been running these for a
22
long
years now.
time now. Yeah, I mean nothing like me, but
No.
I'm running restaurants for 40 years now.
Wow.
I'm-
Your own.
My own.
Yeah, see,
isn't that
I,
crazy?
I've been doing this for 47 years,
Yeah.
but my own for only 22.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Tell me about the restaurant business. What are you thinking? I mean, there's so many weird things coming down the pike that I find it very hard to accomplish our goal, which is to serve deliciousness, serve with graciousness, and make a profit.
And make a profit, take care of our employees,
Yeah.
and keep everybody happy.
Mhm.
It's difficult at times. I mean, we've seen some rough years.
Yeah.
I mean, over the last 15 years, you've seen 3 different things that have come and really hit restaurateurs pretty hard.
Mhm.
But, I feel extremely grateful that we've got a really loyal following. I'm sure you have the same.
Mhm.
And so I feel like I'm better off than a large percentage of the people out there who haven't had this much time in the business or, don't have that same following. So we feel grateful about that, but it could be better.
Do you think when the restaurant is 20 years old, like many of ours are, yours and mine, do you think that's a blessing or a curse? Because so often in our business, it's a little bit like fashion, right? It's who's the new kid on the block, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes the older restaurants get forgotten. Do you feel like that age is a blessing or a curse?
Well, I think when you get into a time like we're heading into now, where people are a little more discretionary about their spending, I think it's a blessing. I think they want to go where they have great memories or where they've been taken care of all along. So I think that's a blessing in that area.
They know what they're going to get.
Exactly.
Because that happened in 08, right? For us, we had
Oh,
our
yeah.
best year in 09 ever
Oh, really?
during that time
I-
because I felt like it was like the stock market. People were picking the blue chips because they knew what they were going to get, right?
Yeah,
Rather than
exactly.
take a chance with your money.
We dropped down so much in 08 from 07 that
Yeah.
09 was, of course, positive.
Right.
So, but the bad thing about a 20-year-old restaurant, as you know, there's always something to fix and change and add. I mean, we just went over a list of what John Howy Steak is now 14 years old.
Right.
And so we just went over a list of everything we need to buy and replace in the kitchen. And we've already replaced a lot of things.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, so Tom, it's not the years, it's the mileage.
Well, in some ways that's true, right? It's
Yeah.
like your steak broiler is probably used harder than your ice cream freezer,
well, yeah. I mean, we have one small ice cream freezer.
Yeah.
That's the only freezer we have
Right.
in the entire place. So
And
it gets worked hard too.
style changes too, like what people thought of as like a modern,
Yeah.
beautiful restaurant 15, 20 years ago now can look dated. And it's hard to keep up with that and also maintain, I think, the presence of what is in people's memory. Like you want to change and stay current, but also people remember it looking a certain way. But then new people coming in might walk in and say, no, this looks dated to be, It's
Oh, yeah. And they'll
interesting.
tell you that
Yeah.
on Yelp.
Oh, you know,
Oh, people don't hold
you know who
back
tells me
on
that
Yelp.
every day? This new one who just joined the company says,
Yeah.
"Oh, we got to remodel that, Dad." Yeah.
Well, it's funny because John Howy Steak during pandemic time, we actually used some of that time to do a few remodeling
Right.
things. And, last month or so, I've had 2 reviews that have said, it just is so old and dated. It looks the same as it did when we came here 14 years ago.
Right.
Well, no, it doesn't, but
Right.
that's what their memory tells
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, it's a struggle. And the wine program is kind of interesting because so much has changed in how people use spirits at restaurants, both in NA quality and also in moving to cocktails from wine.
Well, yeah, the great thing about wine is it's an appreciable asset, and it never really depreciates. And we use that to our advantage during COVID. If it weren't for a deep wine cellar, we would have had some cash flow issues.
Right.
And so we were able to kind of dig deep, and I had a few times where I was crying in my pillow because I had to say goodbye.
You had to sell one of your babies?
I did bring the tissues for him.
Yeah. Yeah, because we ended up selling a lot of our cellar at cost when we bought it. And so it was a heartbreaking time, but it was because of, the deep cellar that kind of kept us going through COVID.
Yeah, we were able to bring people back early and keep them working, and then do some unique and interesting things like the family meal program that we did. And all of that was because we had those assets. Because 2019, I don't know how it was for you, but it wasn't all that great for us because there was the issue with trying to get people to work for you and having to pay all the people overtime, because you get your best people to work for you more. But then again, they're not as good at hour 60 as they were at hour 40.
Right.
But that's the inspiring thing about great restaurateurs like Tom and John, because they see the potential in wine. And again, it's this appreciable asset. And if the market ever falls out in the wine world, you can always drink your assets.
and there's nothing wrong with that.
One of the things that, if it wasn't for government intervention, our restaurants would not be open today. The PPP funds, RRF, all that kind of stuff is why when you look around, we have 10 restaurants and 300 employees again, and millions of dollars of labor dollars going out. Yeah. But one of the things that we've never recovered from since when we had to break up the company, when the whole thing closed, right? We have lost somewhere around 5,000 years of restaurant experience in our company.
Absolutely.
And that depth of knowledge, you just can't replace. I mean, I can go out and hire people with 30 years of experience, but there's only one available. There's not the group that we had put together
And it's not
over 30 years.
It's not 30 years of experience with us,
Exactly.
right? Like we had before. I mean, that I think is one of the beautiful things about older restaurant groups is the people that have been there for so long that know every iteration that you've been through, and that know the guests that have been coming for 20 years and can appreciate them in that way. And losing that, I mean, you lose part of that experience, I think, of like
lose
why
that part of your culture.
why you go there. And
There's a tremendous value to that. So I have, most of my chefs have been with me from the very beginning. And even my general manager at John Howy Steak, Tim Lodahl, he started with me as a 19-year-old kid at Sea Star when we opened, and he eventually became the general manager of John Howy Steak.
Yeah.
So it's great to have those people there. We got pretty lucky that we were able to maintain most of our people. I think it's possibly because we opened sooner than some. And
certainly than
helped.
I did on most of my places.
Yeah.
But we had also had that a lawsuit that we felt was
we all had those, didn't we?
well. Mine, I had to pay mine right into December before we closed in March,
And yours was one of the worst.
well, and it was not.
ridiculous.
Well, I'm not allowed to disparage it, but
Yeah.
I'll just say it wasn't fair.
Yeah.
But that's besides the fact. It did cut our cash flow to a point where we couldn't make some of those decisions that we would like to have made.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just one of those odd things. But going back to my point, which is the depth of experience, the wealth of knowledge that our team had,
There's a huge value in
you
that.
cannot bring back. I couldn't
No.
bring it back.
And like the point that you made, Lorretta, it's the people who have the experience with you, who know what you want, who know how to teach the people who work around them what you want.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it has culture implications that ripple out like very far. It's not just that one person. It's
Yeah.
all the people that they collectively worked with too.
Yeah. Sometimes that's why a lot of people who try to go from one geographical region to another struggle a bit because they don't have that same value people that they bring with them to
Mhm.
do that.
Mhm.
So
You mean as far as like opening restaurants in Chicago and New York? and-
Exactly.
yeah.
yeah, it's harder. I mean, Tacoma was hard for me.
All right, we're going to concentrate on your new distillery when we come back here at the Hot
Awesome.
Stove Society on Cairo Radio. It is the Hot Stove Society radio show, 97.3 FM. I said new again on the distillery. We'll have to clarify.
Well, new building.
Your new building.
It is new. We're having our grand opening on February 1st. So it's we're actually going to make some spirits there eventually too.
Yeah, you guys had like
Oh, we
something
had
happened,
we
right?
had
They had a
what
fire.
happened? Well, we didn't have a fire there.
No, you had a, yeah.
What happened is that we purchased our equipment for this distillery back in 2018.
Okay.
It arrived in 2021.
Great.
It then and then it had to go to a warehouse. Yeah, it had to go to a warehouse because we have no room for it there while we're constructing, and the warehouse burned to the ground. So now all of a sudden you're in a place where you don't have your equipment, and it's the hardest thing to find.
Yeah.
Everybody's struggling with sourcing things. We got to go back to our people in Germany and ask them to remake stills for us, and they didn't have the stainless steel that we needed for large tanks. Luckily for us, we were able to buy some tanks from
Woodinville Whiskey.
Woodinville Whiskey,
Yeah.
So they were, of course, Remy Martin bought them, or who bought them?
LVMH.
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 Okay, so LVMH bought them, and
didn't
so
know that.
they were redoing their entire facility.
All of a sudden they had money.
Remember that? Remember that episode of the Brady Bunch when Greg and Peter find the taboo at the construction site and everything bad happens to them? I was convinced that we found the ancient island taboo under our building.
I don't have the recall on Brady Bunch like you do. That's interesting because I feel like I'm of that era, and you're not.
No, I certainly am.
How
yeah.
old are you?
53.
Well, you're not of the Brady. No, you're a generation after the
I
Brady
watch
Bunch.
the Brady Bunch every day.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But Brady Bunch was like mid 70s or something, late
Oh, yeah.
60s to mid 70s, I believe. So
Yeah.
you might have been younger
There's
watching
a story of a man named Brady.
Yeah, there you go.
it. That's the
See?
one.
You guys are just old.
Hey, it's not the years, it's the
Can you
mileage.
believe I paid for her schooling?
Oh.
Ready, set?
Hold on.
Sean, are you ready? Okay. We're back here at the Hot Stove Society on Cairo Radio. Our guests are Chef John Howy, owner and founder of the John Howy Restaurant Group, and also Eric Leholm, a John Howy Restaurant Group partner, wine director, sommelier, and only accredited coffee sommelier in the Pacific Northwest.
Sommelier of many
Crazy.
things.
Yes, jack of all trades.
That's
you
that's
master
the
of
good
one?
palate.
You
Good
were at
palate.
Canlis for a while too, right?
No,
You never
almost,
were.
almost, but it never happened.
Never worked out.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got a new distillery,
Yeah.
both of you, across. It's not a new brand, but it's a new distillery. It's
Yeah.
across from my warehouse in Ballard. I'm at 52nd and 14th, where our new Serious Pie is, and you're kind of kitty corner to the northwest,
53rd and 14th.
53rd and
Yeah,
14th.
so we're neighbors, kitty
Yeah.
corner neighbors.
Yeah, and we look at your copper stills in the big window that you put into that building.
And
Yeah.
we look at Serious Pie every day.
I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us about it.
Sure.
Tell us about the whole brand and
Well, the Wildwood Spirits Company comes from the street I grew up on in East Lansing, Michigan. And so Wildwood Street became Wildwood Spirits Company. My parents still live in that house, and everything about Wildwood is nostalgic. So everything we make, there's an Easter egg in actually the ingredients or on the labels. So there's a lot of heart into everything that we make.
Mhm.
Why we decided to open a distillery? That's the $50,000 question.
50,000? That's
it's
all.
more than, I bet it's more than that.
I was thinking it's the $4 million question at this point.
Well, a buddy of mine kind of dabbled in distilling, and being a wine nerd, a spirit nerd,
Coffee nerd.
yeah, all beverage things. We had a 4-liter pot still that we bought in Portugal, and we made grappa every year because all my buddies have wineries up in Woodinville. We'd get fresh pumice and make grappa, and over the years it got to be better and better. We didn't blind ourselves or anyone. We didn't kill ourselves or anyone.
Homemade grappa is dangerous.
But yeah, it was still grappa.
So my buddy said, "Hey, let's open up a grappa distillery." And I was thinking, grappa distillery? Well, 1% of the population drinks grappa, and
Not
probably
even,
less
yeah.
than half of that likes it. But he had his wife as a sugar mama, and I was like, "Great, let's do it." And then John got wind of this happening. He tried some of the grappa we made. He too didn't go blind or bled from his ears.
Yeah, I figured a garage still was one thing, but we needed to go further.
Yeah. So John's always, go bigger. But my experience as a distiller was as an enthusiast. So trying to get money from an investor saying, you know what, I'm really enthusiastic about distilling. Can I have $5 million? Wasn't really going to pan out. So I went back to school. I went to London to the Institute of Brewing and Distilling and became a master distiller through their program.
Except for he wouldn't let us call him that until after he distilled for 2 years.
Right. Yeah. So I had some credibility. And then I did some staging at Sipsmiths in London and a couple other places, and decided, well, I think we've got enough traction. We can start looking for investors into this project of vertical integration. And, by hook or by crook, things got rolling, but we needed something more. Like, how are we going to develop these spirits? And in doing research, this guy's name kept coming up again and again, Chris Berglund. And this guy literally wrote the book on craft distillation. And in doing a little more research, I found out this guy, Chris Berglund, is a biochemist at Michigan State University, which is my alma mater. So it seemed like all the planets were lining up, and it just seemed perfect. And my enthusiasm was just flowing through me and outward. And I called up Chris Berglund at Michigan State and told him of what we wanted to do. And he said, no, thank you. And so I waxed poetic. I pleaded my case. I said, hey, listen, I'm a graduate. My dad's been a professor there for 55 years, and I'm Swedish. And that did it.
That did it.
That did it, because he is Swedish and taught for 6 months out of the year at Luleå University in Sweden. So we shipped 50,000 pounds of Washington winter wheat to Michigan State University and developed all of our spirits. And we had the advantage of using science on our side. So the 10 PhD candidates all had different disciplines in distilling. So one guy was focused on gin botanicals and was writing his dissertation on that. Another guy doing a dissertation on vodka filtration. Another guy doing a dissertation on whiskey mash. So we got to utilize all of this brain power in doing beta tests for our spirits.
It gave us a bit of an advantage.
Yeah.
So that you end up with a recipe out of all that.
We came up with a recipe and actually distilled a few hundred cases of gin and vodka, and got our friends at the time, Greg Nelson, who owned Noble, cleared it for us. And so, by the time we opened up our distillery in Bothell, we weren't building the plane while we were flying it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we thought, okay, we're moving, we're grooving. And this is where the lessons of owning a distillery came into play. When you get a 3-star Michelin rating, in a restaurant, your life is made. It's good to go. Sustain it, maintain it. In the distilling world, it's a lot different. We submitted our gin cure to the New York World Wine and Spirits Competition, and we got best in show, best spirit in competition, best gin, and we thought, I'm buying that house in Hawaii. It's a done deal. Hang the hat up. We're done. It doesn't work that way in the spirit world.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of advertising gumption.
Right.
And,
Is this what is
when
that what
when
we're
you're up
trying?
against George Clooney advertising
Right.
gin or
I know.
tequila, I mean,
Not a bad thing to have
Yeah.
George on your
So
tequila.
let's before we run out
Yeah,
of time, let's
sure.
get to what we're tasting. Our audience has the opportunity, as do we,
Great.
to taste what you brought here today.
So we brought our Cure Gin, K-U-R in Swedish. It means just as it sounds in English.
Yeah.
Our-
And part of the reason why it's named Cure, K-U-R, is because we wanted to call it Cure, like as in gin doctors
Uh-huh.
from the old days.
Mhm.
And the feds went, no
Yeah.
chance you're
Yeah.
putting Cure
Right.
on your label.
Right.
So they came up with the
KUR, and then all of our clear spirits have a Swedish name. So Cure Gin, in working with these great minds at Michigan State, we got to understand what the best botanicals were using a spectrometer. What orange has the most intensity? We learned that Seville orange has the most orange pop, and we thought, great, we'll make it with Seville oranges. However, Seville oranges are only available about a month out of the year. So we worked around it by doing fractional distilling. We distill each botanical separately when it's in its peak season and then blend it like a winemaker would. So they're Braeburn apples from my backyard in Ballard, Douglas fern fronds. When a Douglas fir starts doing its little cycle of growth, it pops out these little fronds, which are very citrus driven. And we tried to capitalize on that, just like a chef does,
Yeah, it's
using
delicious.
best seasonal ingredients. And we do that so our gin tastes the same today as it will 6 months from now.
What else are we trying here?
We're trying our rendition rye. The rye is the distiller's nightmare because it kind of screws up your distilling equipment because of the mash. It's like rubber cement when it dries. So we did our rendition with the idea that, well, if we're going to make a rye, which is spicy, has lots of aromatics, but can have some hard, sharp edges, we finish it in our bourbon barrels, and it's like sandpaper. It kind of smooths out those rough edges.
and the Cure Gin has won awards all along. Double golds, platinum in LA last year, double gold again in New York. The rendition has been in 2 competitions. It was in LA last year, and it took double gold, best rye and show. We got best rye distillery, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was in San Francisco again, double gold. And then last week, Food and Wine article came out naming it as one of the best ryes you can use for a Manhattan. So that's nice.
I
nice
love
as well.
that. There's a lot of
Cocktail.
Manhattans
I
going
think it's
on.
because,
Cocktail
there are.
choice.
but I think it's because my grandmother Marion's on the label.
I think probably so.
That's-
She
does it.
played the viola, and
Yeah.
so the Easter egg on the label is the song "Catcher
All
in
right.
the Rye."
Yeah.
Remind people where they can come visit and do a little tasting for us.
So it's Ballard or Bothell. Bothel's only available on Saturdays and Sundays from 2 to 7. It's just beneath the Beardsley Public House. But in Ballard, it's 1400 Northwest 53rd, just a block away from Tom. Go get a pizza. Come on over and have a cocktail.
You're
We got
about to
some
have your
great
grand
cocktails.
opening.
What's that?
You're about to have your grand opening, right?
We are. We're going to do a grand opening party on February 1st.
Nice.
And I believe Eric is going to start making some spirits tomorrow.
Finally,
Wow.
we get them busy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys, for joining us. In the next hour, we're going to celebrate Chef Thierry with Simple to Spectacular. We're going to talk desserts with former Dahlia Lounge pastry chef Britney Bartoleben. And we're going to play Rub with Love Tasty Trivia on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM. Nice job, boys.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks.
Thank
We
you.
got to the taste.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
great. Thanks.
I wasn't
That's
trying to
great.
cut you
Thank
off.
you.
That's all right.
Can we do a quick?
He could go on for about an hour on what we created here. So,
Yeah, will you guys, gentlemen, go?
yeah.
These two are gonna.
Are you? Oh, good. Scoot over right next. She's actually nicer than she looks. She looks mean. The way she treats her father. Here. Oh, you got some at your table there.
Thanks. Thanks for having us.
We have a non-alcoholic one too, which is decent. Some friends did the side-by-side gin and tonics. I mean, I can tell, but good. Gin and sense.
I saw that after I was.
That it was. Yeah.
Nice to have a little spirit with your breakfast, huh?
I see most people say yes. I'm not routing anyone out.
Not to mention it, but Sunday I'm flying to New York to be on Beat Bobby's flight on Monday.
Oh, really?
We'll see what happens. Have you done that?
No.
Yeah.
I've only done one cooking competition in my life.
Iron Chef.
Iron
I saw
Chef,
it,
yeah.
What are you gonna make?
Well, it depends if I got to get past the first chef. So Bobby just hands something. Neither one of us knows what it is. We go against each other, and if you make it, then I'm going to teach you. I have no idea. This is season 38, 39 we're shooting. Pretty great.
Well, plus I'll have to sit on it for 6 months until they actually air it.
Exactly.
Remember Iron Chef?
That's what's going to happen. Yeah.
God, I was relentless on Thierry. You know, he choked on his throat.
Did he eventually give it? Did he eventually tell you what happened?
Yeah, he did. I forget why he did that. But, oh, he forgot the egg. It's like a crook went down and he forgot the egg. Just did the crook. So they booted him off the show, and so he choked on his throat.
That probably hurt him pretty good.
Oh man, I was relentless.
Well, sad that he's no longer with us. But
We bring this down for this segment.
yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for having us.
All right, nice to see you. How's your breakfast out there? Really good? Chef Annie, you're getting some thumbs up out here. You could act more inspired.
Just love making breakfast.
Water?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Tired.
Only 17 more years and a half, 17 and a half more years. Because even when they're not home, you worry about them. I
Yeah,
guess
but at
that's for the
least
rest of
you
your life.
sleep.
Yeah.
That's the rest of your life. Yeah.
So I'm heading to the airport in Kona on Monday night for the red eye, and I get this text. Airport closed. My flight had already been canceled, which I had taken preemptive action to book a second flight already. So I was fine with that, but they closed the entire airport because of cracks in the runway.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, I wasn't already on a plane like some of my friends. No, I was in Kona. Yeah. Yeah. Kona.
So yeah, I flew down to New York on the 5th. On the 6th.
Uh-huh.
Get there, Bobby's sick. First time ever. 38 sessions.
Uh-huh.
38 seasons. Turn around, got back on the airplane.
That's funny. You know, I went back there. We had bought at this is a Hawaii State Junior Golf benefit that I do in mid-January. And we had bought an auction item for Wingfoot and what else is the other big one out on? I had reservations on Bethpage, Wingfoot, and there's another one.
Pine, wasn't it Pine something?
No, it's where the U.S. Open's going to be this year. Anyway. Oh, that's North Carolina. This is Long Island. Oh, so then it's can't remember.
Yeah.
out on Long Island. They're right near each other. But I got off the plane at JFK, and my two buddies are still, Craig, who owns this hotel, and Alan's in LA, saying, there's a hurricane, dude. We're not coming. It's like, I'm here. Right now, my luggage is going around like this. And then the guy that was hosting us canceled. So I had to get back on the plane and head to LA just to play golf. No.
Yeah, well, I was in the air in the 737 MAX 900 coming back from New York. When that happened to the
Nice.
I didn't know about it. Anyway.
Wear your seatbelt. You'll be fine. I'll do it. I'll do it. I always wanted to go out in a blaze of glory. Space Shuttle Columbia. That's how I want to go.
I'm not that I want to be sitting in my chair completely naked.
Yeah. Nobody wants that, John. Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? 16,000 feet.
Alrighty.
Might be too soon to do a commercial about that.
How do they do? How do they do this on the liquor licensing side? How do they do this on the liquor licensing side? I like those glasses. I know, it's great.
John, are you allowed to sell those in your restaurant? Yeah. No, by the drink. How do you get by the wholesale manufacturer retail?
The bottles?
No, just a rent.
How do you get around it?
Oh, that changed when they changed the distribution. It used to be you couldn't do that. But when
I know.
the distribution law changed 10 years ago, whatever it was, because we waited and waited because we were ready to do this. And we waited until the laws changed. And so it allowed us to go ahead and make and own part of the distillery. So I had an investor in C-Store who bought Matthew's Winery and could not be an investor in C-Store anymore. He had to sell his unit to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because we tried to team up with Rubens and they wouldn't let us.
Beer?
Yeah.
That's really strange.
Yeah.
I go,
Well, maybe I need a better attorney.
maybe you should have sent her to a better school.
Oh, she went to UW.
Okay, well,
Tearing down the locals right now. Wait
Yeah.
till that hits the news. All right, see you guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Sean, do we have new dance party music this week?
yeah.
What do you got for us? ABBA. Terry loved ABBA. Okay, so in honor of our friend Chef Terry, we like to stand by our chairs for a minute. When I was asked to give a chat about him at an event that he was supposed to be with me at, but had died that week, they wanted me to do a moment of silence, and I refused. But we did a moment of dance party because Terry was a dancer, a whistler, and a singer. And so that's how we honored Chef Terry. All right, we're coming into a dance party right here. This is Chef Terry's segment in honor of Chef Terry, who was the singer, dancer, and whistler. He's the best chef I know. Loved himself a little dance party. So if you're at home listening right now, get out of your chair, jump out of your car, drop the snow shovel, give us a little twist. Welcome back. It's the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio. Our audience was just working off some of their breakfast. Congratulations to you all for getting out of your seats. Our segment today is called Simple to Spectacular. We're taking recipes for the next year out of Terry's book. They're called Rovers, and I think you can still find them. They're sold out new, but used online a little bit here or there if you want to play along with us as we do this throughout the year. Today, Becky, what is going to be our recipe?
Ooh, we're gonna have pork belly with ginger, honey, and soy, and a cannellini bean salad. Not from a can.
Not from a can.
No.
Of course.
Funny
not.
how that is. So, as you know, and as I'll tell you every week as we move forward with this, Terry and I were very different cooks. I respected his talent immensely, but at the same time, he was classically trained as a French chef from the age of 14 on, and I was at that 14, I was carrying golf clubs around the golf course and delivering newspapers both in the morning and the afternoon. So, I think that's
culinary.
not classically trained. I did go to home ec in high school, though.
Yeah, that's where you
With
got
the
it.
ultimate idea was I was going to meet girls, which worked.
Uh-huh.
I was one guy, 27 people. I was the only guy in class. So I got to iron and sew and cook with 26 girls.
And then teach all your sisters when you get home.
No,
No.
it's just not the same. Can't figure that out. So let's talk about this pork belly. Why did you pick this one today? Because it feels kind of wintry, like a winter salad, doesn't
Exactly.
it? Yeah.
And I like the idea. I think listeners might be inspired to actually make a pork belly if they haven't before. So
And to talk about inexpensive cuts,
is that true?
Well, it's about as inexpensive as you get. The only thing is, if the only one you can find comes with skin on,
Mhm.
for this particular recipe, you have to take the skin off.
Right.
If you're making, let's say, a porchetta, like an Italian-style porchetta, you might want to take some of the skin off, but leave the outside cap so that you can put it on in the oven on high and make a crackling out of that skin.
That sounds nice.
This is
too.
not that kind of pork belly. So, Lorretta, did you have a chance to read this recipe?
I did. Yeah.
What intrigued you about it, and do you think you would attempt? Because typical Terry recipes are at least a day. Because there's prep. There's prep to do, right?
Yes. Well, there's a couple things about it. One, I've never made pork belly before. It's never been kind of like my favorite cut because I feel like when it's not done really well, it just ends up being this kind of like
Oh, you've always hated a big mouthful
goopy,
of fat.
fatty
Yeah.
thing. It's just not my idea of a great time. Looking at the photo that accompanies this recipe, though, I mean, it looks beautiful.
Mhm. Nicely rendered.
Yeah, nicely rendered out. Obviously some fat in there. You want it. It's pork belly. It's supposed to be fatty. But and then I think one of the things right in the introduction to this recipe that I thought was really interesting is he advises that you save the cooking liquid from braising your pork belly and use it as a marinade. Of course, he says to add Dijon to it,
Right.
but use it as a marinade for another meal later on. And, that's not something that I typically would attribute to like fancy French cooking or honestly fancy cooking in general is, but I thought that was such a lovely idea to maintain that like depth of flavor that you've been working on by braising this pork belly for hours, to be able to reuse that in something else. I just don't think.
Well, you use some of it in the sauce for this dish, but the other part,
but only a cup of it. So
the other part is separate and delicious.
Yeah, that kind of leftover reusing. I guess I don't necessarily associate that with that highbrow type of cooking, but I loved that.
The other thing he says in the beginning, which is something that I get asked all the time: what's the difference between tamari and soy sauce? And so. Tamari uses soy sauce uses soybeans and wheat. In the distillation or brewing process. And of course, tamari only uses soybeans, so it's good for gluten-free.
I was going to ask, he also says use a top quality soy sauce. What is like the difference there? Is it a flavor? Is it just that Thierry wants everything to be top quality? I mean,
honestly, I would bet he didn't go through like Guajamaya and try 10 different soys to decide what is a top quality. So, you would have to look online for reviews like Food 52 or Epicurean to see what they think.
We should do a tasting panel sometime on the show.
Just wrote that
soy
down.
sauce.
That would be good. And so he sears the pork belly, trims it up, sears it in a pan, fairly hot to get it brown on the fat side of the pork belly.
Yep.
And he wants to render it a little bit, but not much. Turn it a few times and transfer it to a plate. So I thought this was kind of an important step that he does next because I don't think a lot of people think about this. So he takes all of his aromatics, the bay leaves, the garlic, the herbs, the thyme, and he sautés them for a couple of minutes to bring out their aromatic quality. I thought that was, I'm so glad he wrote that in there, because we do that naturally as chefs. And I think home cooks forget that step of bringing out the aromatics.
Yeah,
out of
I
the bay
probably
leaf.
wouldn't have. I would have just tossed it in with the braising, into the braising.
And he only cooks it for
Right.
a couple of minutes.
And he cooks it in the rendered fat that he just
Right.
took out.
And let's not forget, he's already got the beans soaking from last night. So he cooks beans fairly traditionally. These are the cannellini beans that he's going to use as his base for the bacon.
It's another thing
for
I've
the
never
pork.
done is cook dry beans.
We cooked the pot last night. We put them right in the freezer. They're beautiful. Jackie grew these cat's eye beans. And anyway, so he's going to roast his pork belly at 250, or if that's boiling too much, go to 225 until it renders. And that's
It's very low. Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
So then it just kind of gets low and slow, renders a bit on those aromatics. Okay.
He says about 2.5 hours
Right.
when you flip it kind of halfway through.
And he's going to drain off some of that. And I would be careful about the amount of fat that comes off of that. You can put it into a clear cup and see the fat rise to the top. You don't want to get rid of all the fat, but you don't want it to be 50% fat
Okay.
either. And then he makes a dressing out of that for the beans. So now the beans are cooked and dressed with, and then they're sitting warm on the side. And he says, when the pork belly is tender, take the skillet from the oven and transfer the pork belly to a cutting board and cut it into thin slices. So he makes like a 2 or 3 inch slice and almost like a thick cut slice of bacon.
I feel like that also deals with some of what I don't always love about pork belly is when it's in those big cubes and the whole thing is just fat. But
Too
if you
much.
cut it thin, you're able to get bites that,
Right.
have some of the rendered portion, some of
And
the
of course,
fat.
he finished it on a little higher heat, so it has a little bit of a crust. This is my favorite part about this recipe. We're making pork belly. It is 50% fat. There's no way around it. So, of course, when he's reducing the sauce and creating the flavors, add butter and whisk it so it melts creamily into the sauce and keep it over warm so it doesn't break. So the fact that there's so much fat in there that if you put it over high heat, it'll break.
It'll
in
break.
a
Yeah.
heartbeat. So just put the beans on the plate, slice a couple of thin pieces of the pork belly, put it on top of the beans, garnish with a few dots of the sauce, and serve right away.
Little beautiful chives from the
I know,
garden.
of course, a little
Yeah.
perfect chive blossom in the
Uh-huh.
picture.
Exactly. Well, book stylists get paid a lot of money. Well, that's our recipe of the week for in honor of Chef Thierry, from simple to spectacular. Up next, Britney Bartoleben is here. She's the pastry chef of Hot Kate's Molten Chocolate Cakery on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society show, 97.3 FM.
Hi, Brett. How are you?
Highlight the recipe.
I know. How are your babies? Good.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Up to me.
Okay.
Yeah. I love your outfit.
You can see where I just highlighted my points. And,
I did highlight, I'll tell you later, but in the promos, Carol promised Skagit's own fish market in Burlington to do a shout out for that.
oh, okay.
So it's in there.
Do they listen to the
That's-
show?
Yes, that's why it's highlighted.
Hi, Becky. Nice to meet you.
Bartoleben, where are you?
Hi. How
You're
are
tiny.
How you doing?
Super. How about you?
Good. Nice to see you all.
You?
Back in the chair.
Back in the chair, like I
Yeah,
never
you're ready.
left. Yeah.
How's your kiddo?
He's 9. Oh my
know,
gosh, he's
it's
great.
crazy.
Yeah. He's doing really well.
Do they sleep when they're 9?
Yes.
Okay.
They sleep and you can ignore them. Pretty much.
Amazing.
Yeah, they closed school today. Like where, a few years ago that would have been a nightmare, but now
And
it's
Sean,
just like
you show Brittany the
great.
pictures of Loretta's.
the babies.
Brittany and I are Instagram friends.
Yes,
Are you?
yeah, I've
Okay.
seen these babies.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to see these kids.
Put them
Look
away.
at
That's
them.
Athena and Adonis.
Oh, they're so cute. How old are they now?
Almost 6 months.
So you're not getting any sleep
Oh,
at
no.
all. Oh my
No.
goodness.
It's really the 3-year-old that's the problem. Yeah. I mean, the babies are
Yeah,
awake at all
yeah.
hours of the night, which is expected, but
Yeah.
I didn't expect that my 3-year-old would still
You
be
are
awake at all
awesome.
hours of
Toddler
the night.
and some twins. That's a full-time
So
job,
fun.
isn't it?
No, it's
I
great.
tried to teach her about contraception.
Yeah. Wasn't listening.
The twins were just, that was a surprise. for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. I don't really have any control over that.
No.
Yeah.
No, they're great. They're 6 months. Like,
Yeah.
we're turning the corner into like fun and
Yeah. You're getting past the sleep
Giggle
regressions and
and-
yeah.
They like
Yeah.
spicy pho right now.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
No.
No, I don't. My
anything.
kid loves spicy food, like spicier
Really?
than me. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
so funny.
Yeah. I'm
Lori
very-
loves like hot Cheetos.
Yes. I mean, who can resist hot Cheetos? I mean,
But
yeah, we just
Yeah.
he just started eating Takis, which are like a little
my
too
God,
hot
I
for me
love-
sometimes. But yeah,
I
he
love
loves them.
Takis.
Full of garbage, but
Yeah.
it's so good.
But he's got allergies.
All kinds of allergies. They have not yet gone away,
Oh,
but
no.
we're dealing with them. He's otherwise got a great palate, and so
From what he can eat.
from what he can eat, exactly.
All right.
2 segments.
Here we are back in the kitchen on Cairo Radio, Hotel Andra, downtown Seattle. Our Hot Stove Society studios are on the 2nd floor. Somehow all these lovely people found their way to our studios. Was it difficult? Yes. Yes.
But worth it.
At the top of the stairs, there's a sign, but down below, it's more difficult to find us. We are going to jump in with Britney Bartolaban. You might remember her when she used to work with us at the Dahlia Bakery as our company pastry chef, and she was always
A
lovely to
regular
have.
contributor
was
to
a
the
regular
show.
here.
Back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Always lovely to have on the show. You now are the chef of the Hot Cakes Molten Chocolate Cakery,
Yes.
which do you still have 2 locations?
Still
or do you
two,
sell
third,
off
there's still 2, and the 3rd location should be open in a few months in
Oh, yeah.
Soto.
in Soda?
Yeah.
And is that going to become your production? location?
Production, it's gonna be a production space, and it'll be a 3rd location.
Do you
as
own
well.
it yet?
Thankfully, no.
What? Now, why do you say thankfully? no?
Because owning a business seems really stressful. And I'd really just have someone pay me to.
it doesn't go away.
It doesn't
Yeah.
go away ever. I know our owners, Kevin and Kara, are just constantly working, and I get to enjoy my weekends. So
Funny.
Good for you.
yeah.
So tell us about your background, how you became a pastry chef. And
Yeah, so I've been a pastry chef for, oh God, the math, nearly 25 years.
Mhm.
I right out of high school knew that this is what I wanted to do because I worked at a little bakery in Issaquah in Gilman Village. Used to be called the Sweet Edition. I don't know what it is
Oh,
now.
cute.
I
It's,
had coffee there one time.
it's adorable little
Yeah.
family-owned candy shop on one side
Yeah.
and then bakery and cafe on the other side. And I hired there first to do dishes, and I was doing dishes, and I was looking through the window at the kitchen and watched their pastry chef ice a cake. And I was like, she's getting paid right now, and it looks really fun. And so I decided right then and there, that's what I wanted to do. They were really cool, invited me into their kitchen, even you want to make whipped cream? And I was like, oh my God, yes, that's so cool. So this was senior year, and just kind of baked my way through Richard Sachs's Classic Home Desserts that summer, which
He
is,
was influential, wasn't he?
oh my God, big time. That
Yeah.
book it's such a tome. And yeah, I loved that
Yeah.
book.
I was at the James Beard Awards one time, and we got together because I liked his book, and he won that year for that book.
Yeah. I highly. I think it's out of print now, but if you can find it at like half price books somewhere, get it. It's a masterpiece. So yeah, started culinary school right after that, and haven't looked back. I've loved it ever since. I obviously joined the team at Tom Douglas Restaurants in 2011, and was there for nearly 10 years.
So you got fired, right?
Till I got fired, that pesky virus. Yeah, and then landed at Hot Cakes in early 2001 and have been, or 2021, excuse me,
Yeah.
have been there since. So
What's your favorite part about baking today? You've got 25 years of experience.
Yeah.
and you saw that cake being iced, which really kind of captured your imagination.
yeah,
At the end of the day, like people ask me, what's your favorite thing to cook? And, for me, it's not necessarily what you might think. Like I love putting a duck on a rotisserie and watching it turn over a pan of potatoes, low and slow, and sipping a glass of wine, and that's my day
Very
off. That's my idea of
zenful.
fun on my day
Yeah,
off,
yeah.
right? So it might not be what you might think is your favorite thing
Right.
about baking.
yeah. For me, it's sharing your baked goods with the people you love, and
Uh-huh.
I truly believe even if you don't do the greatest job at whatever your bake is, if you made it with love, and you use the best ingredients you can find, it's obviously going to taste much better than anything you buy at the store. And just, I feel like baking is an act of love. And so sharing that with your friends and family, it's just, that's priceless to
It's
me.
so fun to see their face when you give them-
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And if somebody tells me this tastes exactly like my grandmother made, for better or worse, I love that. So
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
who knew?
One of the things you were famous.
Who knew
one of the
you
things
had
you
it
were
in you?
yeah, didn't know she could be sweet. Yeah. Well, she is a baker. One of the things you were famous for at our company was your Girl Scout cookie
Yeah.
extravaganzas. I'll
Yes.
say.
Yes.
Which is not just stacking them up, but you took them and made them into something else.
Make them into new desserts.
What's some of your favorite Girl Scout cookie creations?
It is that season, right?
It is that
Yeah.
season. I actually have a very long day with the Girl Scouts of Western Washington tomorrow. We'll be doing the film crew up at our Capitol Hill shop. So I'm still working closely with them. My favorite thing I ever made with the Girl Scouts, obviously the Thin Mint is my ride or die.
It's 35% of their cookie sales is the Thin
It's
Mint.
Really?
good. Yeah, it's very good cookie. But I made a coffee flavored Nanaimo bar with the Thin Mints.
Oh, we had that.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's really good. And then this year this will be the second year we've done this. We're partnering up with the Girl Scouts and we're going to do a Scouts Honor molten cake. So we're taking our dark decadence cake, filling it with a peppermint pastry cream, and on the side we'll have our dark chocolate sauce, ice cream, served with a Thin Mint and some fresh mint on the side. It's just chocolate mint, delicious.
Oh my God.
So go back to the bar because that became a big hit.
Yeah.
How
do we do that?
I remember to this day that I had no idea what that bar is that
The
you just
Nanaimo
said.
bar?
And to this day, I still don't know what that bar is.
Yeah.
You say it like everyone knows what
Everyone
that
who
is.
knows what a Nanaimo bar is. Well, they do
Sounds
have
Canadian.
a following.
Yes.
It is a Canadian bar. It's not a cookie necessarily because it's layered, but you're gonna take some sort of, it's like a chocolate cookie crumb crust,
Okay.
and then the filling is sort of like a cheesecake, not quite as dense, and then it's usually topped with a ganache type.
How do you lighten up a cheesecake filling? Do you whip the egg whites?
It's just, it doesn't have as many eggs in it. It's
Okay.
just enough to set it. It's a little
Okay.
softer and creamier
I
than what
see.
you consider like the classic New York cheesecake, which can be sort of thick.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's that lovely combination of chocolate and cream cheese. And for the version I made, I used the Girl Scout cookies in the crust, so add a little bit of a mint flavor, and then added espresso to the filling. So it was sort of like a mint mocha or something, like super good.
Loretta's got that look on her
I
face,
know,
but she can't eat chocolate.
I know. I can't have chocolate
You can't
or
have
coffee. You're like
Because you're-
tempting me right now. I'm allergic.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
That would be your
Food
nightmare.
allergy, those are worst.
I
Becky,
know.
what's your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
I love the Samoa.
That's
and
my
then-
second favorite.
That's mine
yeah.
too.
Those
Yeah.
are my favorite
Yeah.
as well.
But I
Yeah.
remember you made a s'more with an anise hyssop marshmallow.
Yes.
And Theo chocolate. You
I did
could
the
have had it
Theo
with
root beer barrel chocolate.
That-
So you got
okay.
those anise flavors
That's
from
what
that.
it was.
Yes.
And then did you make a graham cracker?
I
on
did
your
a
own?
rye graham cracker.
Okay.
That is to this day my favorite. I'm somewhat of a s'more.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with s'mores. I love
So-
them.
I
But
I
that
still
is to
remember
this day
that.
my favorite one. So I'm glad you remember
Yeah.
it. I'm glad someone does.
I didn't know you could make marshmallows. Now I do. And I didn't know
Yeah.
you
Well, I
add
love
anise
marshmallows. They're
hyssop.
like a blank canvas. You can add anything to
Uh-huh.
them. And yeah.
What makes a good marshmallow and makes it so they don't dry out?
I think for me, it's not making them with egg whites. It's a
Okay.
really common
So it's
recipe.
vegan?
They are vegan.
Yeah.
It's literally just sugar and, well, no, I'm sorry. It's not vegan because of the gelatin. And I've never tried to do a vegan one with,
Agar-agar.
yeah, exactly. But it's literally just sugar and gelatin cooked and then whipped until it's light and fluffy. I think
Wow.
with the egg whites, it does tend to dry out a little bit. And you just don't get that kind of, you know me, I love my trashy.
Yeah.
It just doesn't taste like a jet puff marshmallow to
One of
me.
the
so-
reasons we click so well is that
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
both love a little trash. now
Yep.
and then.
Yep. Exactly.
One of my lifelong obsessions was getting Terry to eat more trash.
Yes, I
and
know.
it was difficult
I know.
for a man who would never,
I-
ever in his
yeah.
life stop at a McDonald's.
Yeah.
It was
I
difficult.
remember the ketchup, putting ketchup on everything. He was just horrified.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We have a minute, so we're just going to finish up with talking about where you are now,
Mhm.
and then for our next segment, we're going to go into what you're making at
Yeah.
the cakery.
Yeah. The old cakery. So
You know, I was an original investor.
I
in
know
it,
you
and-
were. Yeah. I have you to thank for
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just launched our winter menu, and obviously everyone loves the hot cakes. That's what we're famous for. But we are
Molten
also
cakes,
molten
yeah.
chocolate
Yeah.
cakes. They're baked to order, so they're really hot and gooey when you receive the cake. We have several varieties. Most of them use a master cake batter, but we also have a really good vegan one, which I love the vegan one.
We have your vegan caramel over here.
Yes,
on the
vegan
shelf.
caramel is really good. We have a nice little setup for the vegan one. We got our house-made dry burn vegan caramel. We have developed our own vegan ice cream recipe, which I think is truly delicious. It was years in the making. And then we do little toasted cashews on the side. So
Let's talk about that when we come back.
Yeah.
And also a little bit about where Autumn Martin is these days, the founder of the Molten Chocolate Cake Factory here in Seattle. On Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM. One of our things that I would like to see change here is figure out how to get our guest facing the audience. For years, we've had their back to the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, they're seeing you on TV right now.
true.
There's this camera there
Mhm.
and here. It's all about you. Get your hair fixed. All right, we're going to continue on with Chef Britney Bartolaban. She is the Hot Cakes Molten Chocolate Cakery Chef and is...
That's a pretty good title.
Yeah,
I
it's kind of
feel
a
like.
mouthful.
It's very descriptive.
Yeah.
Just use the acronym. You know,
Exactly.
we talked a little bit about you and your background and how you became a baker and the love of everything Girl Scout cookies.
Mhm.
Let's jump into the cakery.
Yeah.
And I still see the cakes in the freezer section of the grocery store. I know there's still an option out there.
Yes.
Tell us about how that process goes and what's the future of the cakery. And you said you're opening a new place.
Yeah. So the molten chocolate cakes, we obviously have our shops. We have one on Capitol Hill and one in Ballard, and you can come in and get a chocolate cake made to order. We also have a full menu of
Boozy shakes.
boozy shakes. That's
Yeah.
my personal favorite.
Yeah, me too.
We've got a pastry case full of cookies. We do warm cookie sundaes, which is just the most gluttonous,
That's what I
ridiculous
need.
dessert. It's 2 cookies of your choice, a big scoop of ice cream, and then sauce and toppings of your choice.
Oh,
It's
sounds like a gut ache.
It's
Sounds
too much
amazing.
food for me,
Yeah.
but people will take it down, no problem. But it's a great one for splitting.
Uh-huh.
Our molten chocolate cakes are also, as you mentioned, available in the grocery store, nationwide shipping. You can order them online. A lot of little cafes around town sell them. But what's great about those is you can sort of bring the experience home and have it in your own kitchen. We sell our 2-packs. They're 2 little jars that you can just bake at home, and they turn out delicious. We also have our sauces that you can buy as well. We're currently using Lopez Island ice cream with that, so that's also available. So yeah, you can have a little date night at home with those. Our sauces are actually also a huge part of our business, and we do a lot of our sauces are in cafes around town, a lot of coffee
cool.
shops. Yeah, they buy our chocolate sauce for their mochas. Our chocolate sauce, I truly believe, is one of the best chocolate sauces out there. It's like a liquefied brownie, and just add a little milk of your choice, and it's like the best hot cocoa ever.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love the idea of sending these to friends for birthdays that live across the
Yes.
country or even
Yeah.
in your own backyard.
Yeah.
Mail order. It's,
Holidays are big for us
Yeah.
for wholesale shipping. So
what
yeah.
about Valentine's Day?
Valentine's Day is enormous. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
You're
to talk
gearing
about
up.
that. And we're gearing up. Exactly. So yeah, we also have grilled cheese and macaroni and cheese and tomato soup, and so you don't have to have dessert.
All things molten.
All things molten and hot and gooey.
Yes.
Exactly. That's our
Comfort
specialty.
food.
Comfort. That's
Yeah.
kind of my where I've always geared when it comes to desserts. So it's good to be working somewhere like that because they get me. I get them. Our desserts are well aligned. I've never been. You're not going to see me with tweezers. Plating a dessert. Yeah.
Especially with this cold weather.
Yes,
Warm desserts.
Yeah. Right now, well, I should really say most of the time, anytime basically fall, winter, and then early spring, our bread pudding is actually our second most popular
How do you
dessert.
make a
behind-
good bread pudding?
Well, it starts with the bread,
Okay.
and this is
And not stale bread. I
thank you.
trust.
This is literally what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
All of the recipes say stale bread. You can't stale bread tastes disgusting, and that doesn't go away.
Tastes like stale bread.
It tastes like stale bread.
Yeah.
All the sugar and custard in the world isn't going to make that go away.
Okay.
So you want to start with a good bread. I like an enriched white bread, a brioche or a challah, but honestly, like a sourdough is also really good. What you don't want to use is like a seedy, grainy,
because you don't want that
bread.
crust.
You don't
and
want
the-
that crumb, and
Okay.
it's just, it doesn't really work for bread pudding. You want it to be dried. And so what we do is like literally right when the bread comes in, we use Macrina brioche. We trim it into cubes, toss it in butter, and bake it. So we've got these buttery croutons, really.
Well, there's a little trick.
That's-
That's a
yes.
good.
Oh, and
clue
add
right
butter.
there.
Why not?
Yeah,
You know?
why
Yeah, why
Very
not?
good.
You're already adding a custard.
You're already eating
I
a
mean,
very
don't
rich
skim.
dessert.
Yeah.
Make it as
Don't
delicious.
eat so much, right?
Exactly. Have
Yeah.
a smaller portion and just make it as delicious as it can be. So, yeah, we start with a good brioche, toss it in butter, dry it to make a crouton, but you don't have to use bread either. Is kind of like
What?
cornbread pudding at Etta's.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh.
I mean, that's basically the same idea. You can use banana bread. You can use cake. You can use chocolate cake. You'll want to pull back on the sugar in your custard, but kind of the sky's the limit as far as that goes. It's, again, as long as you're not using some hippie.
Okay,
seedy
so now
bread.
our custard. We got the buttered
Mhm.
brioche, kind of
Mhm.
toasted croutons,
Yes,
we'll say,
exactly. Yeah.
and then our custard.
Our custard, it's just a simple custard, cream and milk.
You
or,
say that, but
I know.
come on.
But it really, that is the easiest. Well, I guess probably making the croutons is, the whole thing is easy. The whole thing is easy, start to finish. The custard, sometimes you're going to temper your dairy into your eggs and sometimes not. It
See,
kinda
that's not that
depends.
easy for us people.
Okay, so tempering. Let's start with tempering. You're going to heat either your milk and cream or your combination of the two. In a separate bowl, you've got some eggs. So you don't want to take that hot cream and just dump it right into your eggs. It's going to curdle. You're going to want to whisk those eggs up and
It's going to
add
taste
that
like
cream.
scrambled eggs.
It's going to taste like scrambled
Yeah.
eggs, which is gross, unless you're having scrambled eggs. And so then you're going to slowly pour in that hot liquid and whisk the eggs the entire time. And that's going to slowly bring that temperature up for the eggs. And there you have it, tempered eggs.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's when you're going to want to do an individual bread pudding. You're going to heat that dairy. Because
But you don't cook it any more than that.
exactly. It's like in the oven for, maybe a half hour. Whereas
Yeah,
if you're
that's
doing
where it's cooked. You don't have to
Exactly.
cook it on top of your
Yeah.
stove. Yeah.
if you're doing a
Because
big
you're making a
pan-
creme anglaise, you have to continue that cooking
Exactly,
process.
yeah.
Right? So,
if you're making a big pan of bread pudding, something that isn't so little and has a longer bake time, you don't even have to bother with heating up your cream.
Oh,
You're just
okay.
going to mix all your ingredients together. That's how we did it with the cornbread pudding. And that's when it becomes super easy. So it's kind of up to you. Do you want a perfect little individual portion controlled?
okay, so now raisins or no raisins? 'Cause
No
people get
raisins.
grossed out by raisins, but I love them.
I actually like
I like them
raisins.
soaked in a
I'm-
grappa or
it's not a controversial ingredient for me. I've put raisins in bread pudding and think they're delicious, and especially when it kind of gets coated with that custard,
yeah.
and then it caramelizes a little bit.
I mean, you can
super
use
delicious.
dried cherries instead.
Dried cherries,
anything.
Yeah, you can also use fresh fruit. Right now, we have an apple and brioche bread pudding
That
on the
sounds
menu,
nice.
so we just add some sautéed apples in with those croutons, and it bakes into the custard. And it's super delicious. And then in the spring,
Now
we'll
I
have a
have to
rhubarb
come in
version.
for that.
Mhm.
You would
Yeah.
do that?
Oh, for sure. But I
Yeah.
also feel like I don't stop into hotcakes that much because in my head it's so associated with molten
Oh,
chocolate, and I'm
No,
allergic
we've
to
got
chocolate.
you covered. Yeah,
now
no,
I
we
have
have
to
a lot
come
of.
in
We've got
for-
nut-free, gluten-free, vegan,
Awesome.
chocolate-free.
Okay.
We've got it. It
I'm
runs
in.
the gambit.
So
yeah.
now you just put it all together and you just bake it off in the oven. You don't have to have a double boiler or
So if you're doing an individual bread pudding in ramekins, I do those in
a water bath.
in a water bath covered. Just again, it's got that shorter
covered
bake
with
time.
parchment, right?
Covered with parchment or a foil, something to just keep it from that direct exposed heat. But if you're doing a big old pan, no, just throw it in the oven. I always go slow and low, just because you don't want the top burnt and the filling underdone. But a perfect bread pudding, the custard, the texture should be sort of rich and unctuous.
Mhm.
At the bottom and the top should have sort of a slightly crispy.
I was gonna say, I like a
golden-
little
oh,
crunch on the
Gotta have
yeah.
a little crunch, yeah.
Okay, we only have a minute left, so catch me up on where Autumn Martin is. Autumn founded the cakery. I was one of her original
Yes.
investors. When she sold, I got out, thankfully.
Yeah,
with
really.
money.
Yeah.
But she had a vegan. She was a vegan and had a
Mhm.
vegan bent to some of the things she did,
Yeah.
which were new for Seattle at the time. Right?
Yes,
And
yeah.
So you guys are continuing down that path a little bit.
Of keeping a vegan menu,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
We want to have a vegan option on every
Note.
bucket of our menu. So we've got a vegan grilled cheese. We've got a vegan molten cake. We've got an excellent vegan ice cream. We make a vegan whipped cream for our vegan milkshakes. We've got an incredible vegan chocolate chip cookie, which is also gluten-free and nut-free. So
Is
as
the
a-
vegan ice cream like Frankie and Joe's, or did you develop a different?
we
recipe?
developed a different
Okay.
recipe. It's coconut based like Frankie and Joe's, although I believe they also have a cashew. There's cashews in theirs as well. Ours is oat milk and coconut based. So
It must make you happy. I mean, you're a mom of an allergy kid, so it must make you feel
this
good
was
to
sort of a
develop all
pet
of
project
these.
for
Yeah.
me because I had not found a vegan ice cream that I truly liked. And so this one took a while to develop.
So your
but
kid has no eggs or something?
no eggs, no dairy.
Okay.
Yeah. So and we've had people say I like this more than our regular ice cream, which to me is just like,
Awesome.
oh my God, thank you.
Oh, that's great.
So fun. Are you going to stay and play trivia? Because if I remember right,
Absolutely. I'm kind of
somebody
a
was
fighter. Yeah.
ultra competitive in trivia. When we come back, it's time for Food for Thought Tasty Trivia with Chef Britney Bartoleben on Cairo Radio. It's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
So where is Autumn?
Autumn owns Frankie and Joe's.
It's the vegan ice
vegan
cream
ice
shop.
Did she start that?
Yes,
Yeah.
her
And
and
she's a
Kari
mom.
Brunson.
She's
Yeah.
a very dedicated mom.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, she'd already started Frankie and Joe's and was trying to do Frankie and Joe's and hotcakes and have a newborn at the same time, which doesn't sound tenable to me. That's for
many
sure.
things.
Too many things. Too many babies. So, yeah.
Well, I always just thought, put the babies down and then
Yeah.
get busy on the business.
Right, it was an easy baby. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
I know. It's just a joke. Don't send me a letter. It's just a joke. You know, we get many less letters now than we used to get when I would say something controversial. I think
We're
people
used to you now.
people are
man.
used to
Yeah.
me now,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe you've gotten softer. Nah.
Maybe I've gotten in softer. Exactly.
Yeah.
I certainly feel like in my life I've gotten more appropriate.
Yeah. Well, we all mature.
I think we all had
Let-
to.
Let things go
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
don't let
I know people think it's just men, but women have to do
Oh
the
yeah,
same thing.
absolutely. Yeah.
more so.
Coming up in restaurants in the early 2000s. Yeah.
Okay.
I also think we appreciate people's diverse perspectives, which we always used to surround ourselves by our people like us.
Yeah.
I think-
Yeah.
Well, I think
Would-
the internet too, like it's just broadened what you're exposed to and the perspectives that you're exposed to on a day-to-day basis so
That
much.
you
that-
choose to be exposed
yeah,
to.
that you like know more about.
Well, there's that, but there's also people that refuse to look outside of their spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
And they have tunnel vision on their own
And
opinions.
they're fed that as well
Yeah.
through the
Yeah,
social-
through the internet. Yeah. You ready?
I'm ready.
You ready to get beaten
Probably. Yeah.
with a stick,
Yep.
with a whip?
Found if I'm cocky, it never works out well for me. So I'm very humble and see how
I
it
was on a
goes.
good streak and then I lost it last time I was on here. So.
You're coming back.
Okay. Welcome back to the Hot Stove Society Show, our final segment of the day. Everyone's favorite. It's Rub with Love, food for thought, tasty trivia brought to you by Rub with Love Spice Rubs. They're in local grocery stores like the Metropolitan Market, Thriftway Central Market, QFC, and smaller retailers like Skagit's Own Fish Market in Burlington. Hi, Skagit Fish Market. We love you. Bob's Quality Meats in Columbia City or Front Street Market in Butte, Montana. There's just some of all of the 5,000 retailers that we have around
Amazing.
the country. So, Becky, tell us about how we play our game. Who's going to win, me, and who our contestants are, and what the prize is.
Well, we have a special guest here who might be tough to beat. Pastry
I
chef
know.
Britney.
She's a ringer.
Bartolin. Yep. And so we got 3 contestants, Lorretta, Tom, and you each get 5 questions. And the one who gets the most right is the winner and gets to pick out someone in the audience member to get a 3-pack of Spice Rub.
Cool.
All right. So we're going to start with Lorretta.
Brittany's bummed. She thought she was going to get the spice.
Yeah, Britt doesn't have enough Rub with Love products in her life.
She makes her own. All right, Loretta.
Okay.
You're
It's
back.
been a few weeks. I'm
Okay.
ready.
For what food is a Scoville scale used to measure pungency, like heat and spice?
For what food?
The Scoville.
Chilies.
You got it. Exactly. Which came first, the corn or flour tortilla?
Corn.
It was the corn. First developed in Mexico during prehistoric times. It predates the wheat flour tortilla because Old World wheat was neither known nor grown in the Americas prior to the European colonization.
You know, in Mexico, they're government subsidized. You can only
Yeah.
sell corn tortillas at a certain price.
Yeah, like baguettes in France.
Are they?
I believe so.
That's like
Regulated?
a fixed price.
Yeah, you can't go above a certain amount.
I didn't know that.
Hope I'm right.
Now I need a baguette.
I might be getting letters. Okay, true or false? Last month, authorities in the UK seized thousands of dollars worth of American candies and sodas because they contain banned ingredients.
True.
That is true. Mountain Dew, Jolly Ranchers, Twizzlers, Lemonheads, and more contain numerous banned artificial color dyes and titanium dioxide.
Yeah, the UK doesn't allow the same
no.
dyes that we do. We're
Sunblock.
behind on our food safety.
Yeah, it's progressing. What is the key ingredient in a shandy cocktail?
Like
Shan-
a shandy cocktail or
Mhm.
like a beer shandy? Because it's beer,
beer.
and
It's beer.
orange juice or lemonade usually.
You got it. 4 out of 4 thus far. That's great. For your final question, would you like it to be on a New York Connections game
Yes.
or a Seinfeld? Correct.
Oh, I don't. I have seen Seinfeld like one time.
Okay,
So connection.
here we go. What is the culinary connection between these 4? Yellow, Karashi, Bavarian sweet, and whole grain.
And what was the last one?
Whole grain.
Yellow, Karashi.
Bavarian sweet, and whole grain.
Flour?
Mustards.
Mustard.
Mustards, yes.
Okay.
But you still got 4 out of 5.
True. Okay.
Someone's going to go for that Seinfeld question at some point.
I will.
I think I'm just going to have to tell it. Okay. Excellent. All right. Brittany, I'm excited that you're here.
I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Bammy is a traditional Jamaican bread made primarily of what?
Bambi?
Bammy, B-A-M-M-Y. This was multiple
Deer.
choice.
It's primarily deer.
Oh,
Bambi.
Right where my brain went.
Bammy. It's either corn, cassava, or rye flour, and it's your traditional Jamaican bread.
I have no clue, but I'm going to say cassava.
You nailed it. Yep. Which is just a
Wow.
yucca flour, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Excellent. Can you please name the beverage that originated in Taiwan in the early 1980s? And it mostly consists of tea accompanied by chewy tapioca balls or pearls.
Boba.
Nailed it. I've never had boba.
Really?
You never had it?
Really?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I love
delicious.
it.
I'm going to have
Yeah.
to try it.
Yeah.
Lots of good shops
There's
around
one
town.
right
yeah,
down the street.
they're all over
Yeah,
the
and
place
there's
now.
line,
Yeah.
long lines.
Yeah,
I'll try it
yeah.
at some point. Okay, number 3. Is pierogi a Japanese vegetable, condiment, or cooking technique?
Cooking technique.
Nailed it.
Are you going to give her some difficult questions?
Maybe I'll
She's
give
going
it.
to get a
maybe-
big ego on this.
I'm going to see if she wants a Seinfeld question.
Okay.
Okay. Number 4. Oh no, you're not going to be happy with me, Tom. Can you please tell us what laminated dough is?
Oh my God. Come on.
As a matter of fact, I can.
She can't because she's on the sweet side of the pastry kitchen.
Oh, okay.
She
Yeah,
doesn't
I've
know
eaten
the
a lot of
dough
laminated
side.
dough.
What is
It is a layered dough, such as croissants or Danish.
Kind of like my belly, just
Yes.
layer after
Yeah.
layer.
Layered meaning the butter is incorporated by rolling out the dough, adding butter, folding it up, and then continuing that process.
And that makes things
puffy and layered
build
and flaky
structure,
and
yeah.
delicious.
yum.
Yes.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
Would you like a Seinfeld question or culinary connections question?
Seinfeld, please.
Awesome. Okay,
Thank
we
you.
might get her on this.
Becky's too excited to get this question.
While Jerry and Elaine were waiting for a table at a Chinese restaurant, Jerry dares Elaine to eat what food from a stranger's plate?
Oh, I don't know this one. Oh, shoot. I don't know. Noodles.
It's an egg roll.
Egg roll.
An egg roll.
Egg roll. So
I haven't
we
seen
got
that
we got a
one.
tie 4-4.
All right.
All right, Tom.
Let's see, Dad.
Which root vegetable commonly used in Japanese cuisine is known for its earthy, nutty flavor and is often grated and served with sushi?
Daikon radish.
Yes.
Yes.
Number 1. Awesome. Okay, this is a little tricky.
That must be some deep soil for those daikons to.
They're huge.
so big.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
know.
they can be a foot or 2 long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appearing commercially around 1904, what was successfully marketed in 1908 by Thomas Sullivan? He was a tea and coffee importer from New York.
Just do that whole thing again.
Appearing
John, will
commerci-
you make a note on that first? Yeah.
Thank you. Appearing commercially around 1904, what was successfully marketed in 1908 by Thomas Sullivan? He had a tea and coffee importer store in New York. tea and coffee.
Don't give him hints.
I'm going to say iced tea.
Actually, the tea bag.
The tea bag.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
He shipped his silk bags around the world. A popular legend states that this was accidental. The loose tea was intended to be removed from the bags by customers, but they found it easier to brew in closed and porous bags. There we
Oh,
go.
so the idea was that you would just cut it open and use your
Mhm.
loose tea, but instead people just kept it in the bag.
And here we have it. Yes.
There you go.
Okay, number 3. A tangelo is a cross between which fruits?
I'll take. I know you have suggestions.
Oh, you want a
Oh, a
suggestion?
tangerine and a tangelo.
It's a blend of a couple fruits.
yeah, tangerine and a navel orange.
It's actually a pomelo.
A pomelo.
Or if you said grapefruit, since the pomelo is grapefruit's ancestor, that works too. Okay.
So do I get to stop since I've already lost, or do I have to,
No, you're
do I have to go through the pain?
you're going through the pain. You'll get this one. Number 4, what ingredient was removed from the famous drink Coca-Cola in 1929?
Cocaine.
Yes, you got it. 2 out of 4. Final
Bummer.
question.
I can't believe that was ever a thing.
Well, it had zip.
It's the coca leaf, right?
It's the coca leaf, and I think it was for medicinal purposes. That was how
Interesting.
it
Okay.
originated. Your final question: red split, beluga, horse graham, and French green. What's that connection with those 4 items?
What'd you say? Lentils.
You got it.
Yeah,
3
just what
out
I was
of
gonna say.
5. Okay. So we got a tiebreaker with Lorretta and Britney.
Okay.
Okay.
And so whoever just answers it first, you don't have to. You just say.
Oh, I just
Okay.
say it. Okay, this is where I lost my tiebreaker last
I
time.
know.
I tried to
Donna
slap
cheated.
and
You
wait
got to
for it.
slap.
Okay. Well, you guys will be the judge. What is the colloquial term for a rotating tray often placed on a table? To
Lazy
aid-
Susan.
Nailed it.
Wow.
Loretta's the winner.
Yeah. Law school does pay off. Lazy Susan. Thank you all for playing. And Loretta, you have to pick somebody from the audience. If you want to be part of the show, you can join the community on YouTube Live at Tom Douglas & Co. or buy a ticket to join us in the studio at hotstovesociety.com. Our show is produced by Becky Guzak. Technical director is Sean McFadden. And our talented editor at Cairo is Sean Don't Call Me Del Torre. If you also remember, if you miss any episode of our Hot Stove Society show, you can listen via podcast. Just subscribe with your favorite podcast app. And thank you for listening.
You took my line.
Go ahead, do it again.
Thank you for listening.
All right, that was that. Thank you all for that. We just have